Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I will discuss the project management capability of the IBM Garage Experience platform. But before I do that, I will show you how to create a demo instance using industry templates. This is an easy way to showcase the platform's capability to your clients or to get a head start with relevant industry data. As this is the first time we're accessing the Garage Experience platform, let me go over the landing page. The landing page allows you to work with your existing garages, work with demos that you've created, or create a new demo. Let me start with the create demo function. When you enter to create a demo, you'll be asked to log in with IBM ID. Once you're logged in, you'll get a list of industries that you can pick from. If you select any of these industries, let's say banking, and then I create a demo, what will happen is IBM Garage Experience instance will be created in our learning environment or sandbox. You can see that here, sandbox. And for that specific demo, and it will have some of the data already populated. The project management data, some of the value orchestration relevant to banking that will be created, a lot, some business opportunities, and so on. So a lot of different things you will be able to find that are relevant to that specific industry that you pick. Performance data will be there, be populated in the system. So you can see all of that. You might want to maybe change a year back to be able to see all the data. Now let's go ahead and start to create a garage. We'll call our company Insurance Pro. And let's put it in the US. In New York. Okay, we've selected the industry. Now it's asking me to create the first workspace. Here we'll say life insurance. Let's create a workspace around life insurance. Usually these workspaces are portfolio based, so depends on the organizational structure, we'll create these workspaces. I'm allowed to add more members. I can create squads. I'll skip that for now. Now our workspace is created, so we're able to go in and start working. Let's start by creating a project. Let's call our project Life Insurance. Project 1. Or let's call it Project Insurance Local. And I'll explain that in IGX, there are 3 different models of using the platform. One is using local project management within the tool itself. And for this one, I'm not gonna use the interface team, so I wanna create a different squad to use it. So for now, I'm gonna create the project, and then I'm gonna go into team and create a new squad. So that squad, let's call it Discover. And I added myself by default in it. I can go in and change my roles. These roles give me different capabilities that I can do in the tool. To figure out what are the different roles, you can access that from here, role and access. and we can filter on these. So for example, um, like if I want to focus on project management, I can apply this filter and see what functionality in project management I'm able to do with each one of these roles. And these are the top here. You can see all the different roles that are available in the platform. So I've created my team. I created the Discover squad and I put myself in it. Um, can also edit it, make sure I put the company. Um, and here are all the different roles that I have. So let me get into project management again, and I will edit my project. And this time I'm gonna select the Discover squad because that's the squad I want to start working on this project at this moment. Um, and I can go inside my project and I will start to create iterations. So let's create the first iteration and create iteration 01. Squad is Discover. I'll use story points and I'll say, let's start in July. So I'm just going to simulate this working. Let's say the Discover iteration or the iteration one was taking 2 weeks back in July. I can look at the calendar view here and it's showing it's 2 weeks back in July when it happened. So let me go back inside that iteration. And in it, I can start to create activities. So one of the activities I want to create is a user story, and that user story we'll call it as a product owner for the life insurance application. I want to increase graduate higher interest in life insurance. That is my user story. I'm gonna assign it to myself. Maybe I want to change it a bit. I want to research. As a product owner of life insurance application, I want to research graduate higher interest in life insurance. So as part of that activity, I can get inside this user story, and I can start to create tasks as well. So you can see it's like nested. I can create a subtask. I can create subtasks with AI if I want. Platforms, let's say, course, for example, and I'll create maybe 4 user stories. So create these 4 user stories for me, conduct research on graduate hires, create survey or questionnaire, deploy survey on Salesforce, analyze survey results. So it's very well structured. I can go in each one of these and edit it, assign the person is going to do it, estimate the effort. I'll say this one will take maybe 5 hours. Due date, this was started in July, so I'll say July 11th. And save this one. I'll also go ahead and do the same thing here. This one I'll assign it to myself because I'm the only member in the squad at this moment. maybe give it a couple of days later, and estimate maybe 2 hours for this one. Let's say 4 hours. And I'm gonna save it. So once we have this and we assign all the user stories, basically when you do daily stand-ups, the different members of the squad are either taking user stories or activities and tasks and assigning them to themselves. And then they're also updating the progress. So if I start to work on something, I'll put it in progress. And if I'm done with it, I'll put it in done. And that's how the system will start tracking progress and how are things happening throughout the system. Again, as you can see, this is full product management of these activities. I can go back to the iteration here and say, create another user story so I can show you dependencies. And for this one is, maybe we'll call as a life insurance product owner, I want to publish findings about graduate higher interest in life insurance. And we'll say that this one is dependent on the previous user story. And I'm going to go ahead and create this one. Let's say this one will be, and story points will be 5 story points. And the previous one, I'll edit it and change it to 13 story points. I'll also make sure I assign somebody to it. So here, there is a dependency between these user stories. To see that dependency, we need to get to the iteration level. And if I open this calendar view, I actually don't see it because I didn't put a duration for these two activities. Since they happen during this period, I need to make sure the durations are assigned in this period. So I'm going to edit them. This is the first one. This is a research one. I'm going to say target start date is July 1st. Target end date, I'll change that to July 4th. And then print this one. And then for the next one, now you can see it. The next one I'll put, and let's show that there is a problem. So what I will do is I will say this one needs to start from the 3rd, and I'm gonna say it needs to finish by the 8th, for example. Now when you see the dependency, you will see that this dependency is showing that this one is trying to start before this one ends, so we have a problem, which means we need to go and change this and move it a little bit. So we'll start from the 5th and maybe finishes on the 10th. Now when we look at the dependency, it shows that it is not red anymore. It is clear. Once this one is done, the next one can start. So this is some of the capability that the platform has. We can start iteration. We can complete iteration. We can run reports on burndown. So if I let me go back into this iteration, move everything back to in not to be started. Move this one back here, and I'll also go into the other user story and create subtasks with AI. I'll say create 4 tasks again. I'll say technology is Salesforce. Next. So here, gather data from criteria, create report for findings, publish report on Salesforce, review and refine report. So I've already created all of these. I can edit it, so I can view it. Then I'll get into the Kanban board for the subtasks. And here I can start to edit and assign who's responsible. Well, I'll say just 1 hour for each one of these. Usually after you've created all your user stories, subtasks, assigned them to people, estimated the effort, that's when you want to start your iteration after the iteration planning. Because from that point on, the system is going to take a snapshot and start to see how well you're progressing on your activities. Okay, so now I've already set all the activities, everything is ready in my iteration. So I'll go back to my iteration. And I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the project level. And from there, I can start my iteration. Now, if I look at my reports, burndown hasn't started yet. Once I start moving activities, then the burndown will start to show. And then when I close it, then things will appear. I can also see my epics if I have any epics. I can also see um, what's happening in there. So let's create an epic here so that we also have visibility to that. And that epic is, I will call it Research Life Insurance. For graduate hires. And then what I need to do inside my user stories, I need to associate it with that epic. So I'm going to go here, pick my epic, associate it. So then these two are associated to this epic. And then I can also create a release. And I can say this release happens in the same duration as we put the iteration. Usually a release will have multiple iterations in it. So let's say at the end of July, this is my first release. And I can also choose which issues are involved in it. So we'll pick the same two. This is my release. And then the other thing that I have that I can do is once I started this iteration, I can start to progress it. So we will go there and start to progress the activities. And let's move one of them to done. And here it's telling me that if I move this one to done, there is 0 completed subtasks, 4 incomplete. So the subtask will be moved to done together with their parent issue. So I'll go ahead and accept that. So it will not only move my my user story, but also all the subtasks now will also be done. So you can see here, all the subtasks will be done. And I'm gonna leave this one in progress to show you something else. So now I'm gonna go ahead and close my iteration. And now it's telling me I'm gonna move my tasks that not complete to a new iteration or duplicate them to a new iteration. So I'm gonna say yes and close. Now if I go into my project, I should have two iterations. Now there's an iteration 2. Iteration 1 is 72% complete because there is one tag that didn't complete. So if I go here, look at my reports. Okay, this is looking now at iteration 2, which hasn't started yet, so there's nothing in it. Let's look at iteration 1, and here it shows that on this day, which is outside the duration of the, it's confusing the system because I basically took a different date outside the duration. So maybe I should have used a date that's within the current duration. It also is tracking who is assigned, how many issues they're assigned, how much have they completed, what is the efficiency of me completing these. Efficiency is the amount of work completed against the amount of work planned. So here's 13 out of 18 story points were completed. That's why 72%. As you can see, this this platform allows you to do most of the activities that you need with tracking all these things locally within the platform itself. Like I mentioned, there is two other ways to integrate this platform. Another one is to integrate with JIRA, and another one is to import data from another system. So we'll create an import. This time we're going to create a new project called Life Insurance Import. And again, I'm going to select the Discover Squad, story points. Let's create that. Here the name clashes, so I'm just going to say Life Ins Imp. Just give it a different key. And then we're going to go inside this one and start to create iteration and import our data inside these iterations. So, so here I have some iteration data that I created. So we're gonna have one iteration for discover, one iteration for co-create, and so on. So let's import that data. So let me create the first iteration, which is a discover iteration, and this will be using effort, and let's put it back in time, July 1st. I will just make it 1 week. And I have my iteration here. I'm gonna go ahead and import from file, import, and then I can bring in my discover data and import it. And let me open what this file looks like. This is the structure of the file for the import. It's showing an epic called discover. It's showing some user stories under that epic. And it shows also the status of these user stories, the effort on them, and so on, and who's assigned, and the priority and severity. So here it says that all of that was imported. I can go inside now and have a look. Yep, and as you can see, it also assigned them in the different states. Here, you cannot move anything. This is all static because it's assuming that you're using an external tool and you're just using this import to bring the data inside IGX. There is a requirement on the backlog to allow people to import one time and then use the local capabilities of the platform to manage the activities that were imported. So we're going to be introducing that in the future. But if you're using an external tool and you can continue to use an external tool, that's why we have it frozen. You cannot do much here. So I can have this one. Definitely you can start and stop this iteration as normal. And you can close it. It says duplicate here. I'm going to say ignore. I'm just going to close it as is, and it shows that it is 66% complete. Again, the report is going to be confused because of the time duration is confusing, so I think that functionality will not work. But any epics you created will show up, and all the user stories you have will show up. Again, let's create one more iteration. So let's create the first co-create. So this is co-create 01, a squad. You should have a different squad for this one. So let me go ahead and create a different squad. Let me go create a co-create squad so we can show how we can use multiple squad on the same project. And here's the co-create squad. It has me in it. Then I'll go back into project management. Let's go into the import project and create a new iteration, which is co-create. Let's call it 01. Oh, it doesn't show me the squad here. And the reason for that is the project configuration doesn't have that squad. So I need to edit the project configuration first to accept this new squad so I can start to use it within the project. Now I can find the co-create squad. I can say we're going to use effort for co-create, and it's going to start from the second week of July and in that same week, the end of the week. And now I have my new iteration. I can do an import. And again, here I can just take my data and import it. Okay, all of that data was now imported. I can start my iteration, close my iteration. So now I have two iterations. One is 63% efficiency, one is 92% efficiency. And then the third option of a garage integration is to create a project that is going to be integrated with JIRA. And for that, you would need to follow this instruction here for JIRA integration. So you'd need to find the project ID. There's different ways to do that. You can find it by hovering over the settings in JIRA project management. So I will do a simulation on an IBM JIRA instance. So here in JIRA, I have a project. So as you can see in this project, it has a lot of iterations. It also has one more iteration that completed um, and one that is actually not even started. So let's keep it like that, and then we will integrate it. So to integrate with JIRA, what we need to do is to create a new project. Let's call it Life Insurance JIRA. And for that, we need the project ID. To get the project ID, what you need to do is to go to JIRA, go to the settings, and then hover over the details, you can see it at the bottom, all the way in black, PID equal 95811. All the way when I hover over this details, it shows a URL at the bottom, and the number is 95811. So let me go here, 95811, and we're using story points or effort to the board to see what I can go to backlog, see what my tasks are estimated as. I might not have estimated the value. Edit one. Oh, it is using effort. So here we'll set this as effort, and we'll say both the Discover and Co-Create squad will be working on this. And it's using effort. Squad's working on it, and Discover and Co-Create. Okay, the reason it's not letting me this time is because I did not do one of the requirements, which is I need to go into settings and go inside the user and roles and add IBM Garage at ibm.com. That's why, because it couldn't see it. So I need to specify a user. So we have an ID called IBM Garage at IBM. Just so that you know what it is, it's IBM Garage at IBM.com. But it is this one. It already exists in the system, and I need to choose a role. You can pick any role, but to just give it more power, you can give it project administrator. Now, I'm gonna redo the step again, create the project. Again, discover and co-create. This time it doesn't complain because now it has access to that project. It doesn't like the project ID, probably because I used it before. So let's live. Call it like JIRA, create. Okay, so now I have my new project, life insurance, JIRA. This is gonna replicate, so it's synchronizing right now. So after it finishes synchronization, I will see the details. Let me refresh the screen to see how the synchronization is going. So you can see here, it identified 2 iterations. There's 2 epics, one in each one of these iterations, and then there's 15 user stories within these iterations. First iteration is a discover iteration. It has 1 task in progress and the other all done. And then the other iteration not started yet has all the tasks in to do. Let's go to JIRA and go to our backlog. And let's go ahead and start the sprint. So we started the sprint, and what we can do is we can move some tasks around. I move some tasks to done, some tasks in progress, and let's leave some in done. And now what we can do in IGX is that we can refresh. Actually, we don't have to manually refresh, but just to show that how it updates, I'm just going to do a manual refresh. It updates every 5 minutes automatically. So any changes that would happen in JIRA after 5 minutes, they'll be picked up in IGX. But if you want to force a refresh, you can click on that refresh button, and then it will show you. Also shows you the last update time using GMT. Yeah, you can see now all the user stories. So some were done, some in progress, some to do. So you can see that JIRA integration is active. And what will happen is if you integrate with JIRA, these tasks, you cannot move them. So you cannot touch them, you cannot change them. You can only view the details in case if they have subtasks. Then you can see the structure as if we had the local integration. So it's very straightforward. And then whatever data it collects from this, it allows it to calculate the parameters that you see on the dashboard, like the efficiency, and the story points and so on. It's not using story points, so that's why it doesn't show story points. We can switch this to hours. We go back to iterations. Yeah, here it shows you the hours that were completed in the last iteration, as well as the efficiency, which is the amount of work completed against the amount of work planned. If you want to see the details, you can click on this and then you can see the details for the different iterations. I think that's it for project management in IGX. In the future, we plan to integrate with Azure DevOps as well as GitHub. I hope this demonstration gave you a sense of the platform project management capability and how it could benefit you and your teams. Everything we do is managed through projects, so this is a foundational component of that platform. This management capability allows us to capture some of the vote metrics we mentioned before. Please leave comments if you have any questions or need more clarification. I'll be happy to address them.